That's right. And while the Blues and the Thunderbirds are flying, many of you aren't. And that's because of the COVID pandemic and the uncertainty about whether you can get current or not, or about renewing your medical. The Special Federal Aviation Regulation we told you about last week fixed some of those issues, but some of you are still a little confused about what the SFAR does and whether it applies to you. And that's certainly understandable because it is pretty confusing. So let us help you clear up some of the confusion. First, when it comes to medical certification, it's pretty simple. If your medical expires between March 31st and May 31st, it's been extended to June 30th. But for flight reviews, recent flight experience, and instrument currency, well, it gets a little more complicated.
It is complicated, and it is very helpful to have a flowchart in front of you because how this applies can depend upon both what type of privileges you're exercising at the time of the flight and also the type of flight that you're doing. So it's not an automatic extension like the knowledge test or the medicals. There is an analysis that needs to happen on a flight-by-flight basis. And that's what the flowchart can help our members with.
You can find those flowcharts on our website, but then the question is, why is it so complicated?
If you look at how they brought the rule forward and how they were able to bring it forward so quickly, relatively speaking, to promulgating regulations, that helps us understand why. They put this through the Special Federal Aviation Regulation pathway, which means instead of having a usual period where you publish it and have literally a month or more for the public to comment, they realized that process wouldn't work. The regular regulatory process. And so they used this special process. But what that also means is they had to show good cause for bypassing the public comment period. And they also had to show the public good of passing this. And so that is why they tailored a lot of the extensions, particularly for flight reviews, currency, etc., to things that enable COVID relief operations or COVID-related operations instead of just any type of flight.
So for everything other than medical certificates, you have to be flying a kind of operation that the FAA considers appropriate for relief. So work your way through the flowcharts to see if the SFAR applies to you. And if you're still confused, well, that's okay and understandable to a point. The folks in the AOPA Pilot Information Center are there to help. And if it's really complicated, you can also consult with an aviation attorney if you're a member of the AOPA Legal Services Plan.